Hi, we're going to walk through answering a prompt and looking at the pieces of our response. So the prompt says, you have read an article titled Why Are Ferocious Wildfires Plaguing Southern California by The Guardian. In this text, The Guardian claims that California contained the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. Which paragraph from the text best supports this point of view? Why? Cite evidence from the text to support your response. Now, the first thing I did was I filled in a do what chart to help me answer this question. Now, in looking at the prompt, there are things that I had to do that weren't exactly stated in the prompt. Let me explain. So here's the prompt. You have read an article titled Why Are Ferocious Wildfires Plaguing Southern California? Before I can do or answer the question, I have to read. So I added that as one of my doing verbs. Read an article titled Why Are Ferocious Wildfires Plaguing Southern California? So if I cut that part out, and I'm going to continue to just kind of cut out pieces of the prompt to show what's left when I'm done. All right. The next thing I have to do, it says, in this text, The Guardian claims that California contained the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. Well, before I can tackle that question, I have to be able to analyze and discuss that claim. So discuss claims that California contained the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. So I'm going to get rid of that part of the question as well. Next, it says, which paragraph from the text best supports this point of view? Well, for me to find which paragraph from the text supports that point of view, I have to find that section in the text. So I have to find or identify which paragraph from the text best supports that point of view. The next part of the prompt says why. Well, if someone asks me a why question, my response should be to explain why. So that's what I have to do. I have to explain why. Then it says cite evidence from the text to support your response. When it says cite, it means use. So I have to cite or use evidence from the text to support my response. Now, once I fill in my do what chart, you'll see that there isn't a lot left in the prompt. You have in this text everything else, all of that important information is in my do what chart. So to complete this prompt completely, I have to read an article titled Why Are Ferocious Wildfires Plaguing Southern California by The Guardian. I have to analyze or discuss claims that California contained the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. I have to find and identify which paragraph from the text best supports this point of view. I have to explain why, and then I have to cite or use evidence from the text to support my response. Always, always, I have to make sure that in my response, I explain how my support for my answer proves that my answer is correct. So when I go down and I look at my response to this question, I highlighted the parts of the text that answered or completes this do what chart to kind of give you an understanding. So the first thing you're going to notice, and I'm going to make this a little bigger, is that my first paragraph gives a basic answer of the question. So my introductory paragraph should answer the question of which paragraph from the text best supports the point of view that California contained the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. So the author of this text is The Guardian. They don't give a specific author's name, but the paper it was in is The Guardian. So The Guardian, in their article, Why Are Ferocious Wildfires Plaguing Southern California, builds the point of view, and I could even say, or claim, that California contained the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. Okay? So they do. They tell us that claim is right in the prompt. Okay? So it's okay to put that into your introduction to focus the reader on what you're going to be discussing. And then my answer is also in that introduction. The Guardian best builds their point of view in paragraph 6. So paragraph 6 is where I can find the answer that supports the claim that California contained the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. Now, in that introduction, I answered the question. I gave a basic answer. My job for the rest of this essay is to offer support or proof using the text to prove that answer is correct, that paragraph 6 shows that California contained the perfect condition for those wildfires. So moving into my body paragraph, it says the Guardian begins to illustrate their point of view in paragraph 6 by stating, and here you'll notice that I add quotes because this is a direct quote from the text. If I go over to the text, we have paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4, paragraph 5, and here's paragraph 6. Paragraph 6 says, Southern California had unusually warm weather this year. It also had very little rain. This created a perfect environment for wildfires. So if I'm looking, well, that tells me that hits that claim directly of California contained the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. It says it was the perfect environment. All right. Then it says dry winds called Santa Ana winds reach 70 miles per hour in some places. This helped spread the flames very quickly. So in my paragraph I wrote, the Guardian begins to illustrate, and illustrate just means show. In this context, it means they show their point of view in paragraph 6 by stating Southern California had unusually warm weather this year. It also had very little rain. All right, so I give you, and then it says this created a perfect environment for wildfires. This is my text evidence. This is how I'm using evidence from the text to support my answer that paragraph 6 best shows that California contained the perfect conditions for wildfires. Now what I have to do, I've given my answer and I've given you support. I have to explain why that support best shows that claim is true. They do this to show that the area was very dry, and dry areas are better for producing wildfires. If an area is very wet, I know that you're not going to get a good fire burning. So this part of the paragraph shows me that very little rain made the area much drier, which makes it a good place for a fire to grow or start. All right. Now I'm going to give another piece of evidence, and I'm going to explain that evidence. Finally, the Guardian demonstrates their point of view by writing in paragraph 6, the Guardian demonstrates their point of view by writing in paragraph 6 by concluding dry winds called the Santa Ana winds reach 70 miles per hour in some places. And you'll notice that's this sentence right here. Again, I'm pulling directly from the text, so I have to add quotes. Okay. This helps spread the flames very quickly. And there's that second part that is also directly from the text. I can't just give a quote and not explain why that supports my answer. So my next sentence explains why that supports my answer. They do this to show that along with the dry conditions, once the fire started, the Santa Ana winds spread the fire quickly. So I have two pieces of evidence from the text that I have included in my essay, and I explained why each one supports that claim that paragraph 6 best supports the author's claim that California was perfect for those wildfires. My final sentence kind of wraps it all together and kind of summarizes. The dry conditions and the winds together created perfect conditions for out of control wildfires. Okay, so I summarized those pieces of evidence, and now I'm going to add one more sentence that's going to close everything all together. I'm going to say this information in paragraph 6 directly supports the author's claim that Southern California had the perfect conditions for a wildfire. Okay, so if I go back and read my entire answer, I'm going to go back and read this one more time. The Guardian, in their article, Why Are Ferocious Wildfires Plaguing Southern California?, builds the point of view or claim that California contained the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. The Guardian best builds their point of view in paragraph 6. The Guardian begins to show their point of view in paragraph 6 by stating Southern California had unusually warm weather this year. It also had very little rain. This created a perfect environment for wildfires. They do this to show that the area was very dry, and very dry areas are better for producing wildfires. Finally, the Guardian demonstrates their point of view by writing in paragraph 6 by concluding, dry winds called the Santa Ana winds reach 70 miles per hour in some places. This helps spread the flames very quickly. They do this to show that along with the dry conditions, once the fire started, the Santa Ana winds spread the fire quickly. The dry conditions and the winds together created the perfect conditions for out-of-control wildfires. This information in paragraph 6 directly supports the author's claim that Southern California had the perfect conditions for a wildfire. If I go back up to my do what chart, did I read an article? Yes, I did. I read that article. I'm going to check that box off. Did I analyze and discuss the claims that California contained the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires? Yes, I did. Did I find or identify which paragraph from the text supports this point of view? Yes, I did. It was paragraph 6. Did I explain why? Yes, I explained that it was due to the warm, dry conditions and the winds that helped to spread the fires once they started. And did I cite evidence from the text to support my response? Yes, I did. Those two pieces of evidence. And did I explain how my support for my answer proves my answer is correct? Absolutely. So I answered all the important parts of the prompt. So I hope that by looking at this lesson, not only did you get a deeper understanding of picking apart the prompt using a do-what chart, I hope you've noticed that sometimes you have to add those extra doing words that aren't in the prompt once you analyze what the prompt is asking you to do. I also hope that from this lesson, you were able to see that when you're writing a response, you should have an introduction that answers the question, body paragraphs that support the response, and then explain the support that you've taken directly from the text in the form of quotes, and also wrap it all together by kind of restating what your goal was for that essay. Thank you for watching.